What's up, Liberty lovers? I'm Toy Insanity. I collected so you don't have to. Happy Veterans Day, 11/11/21. As you may or may not know, I take patriotic holidays to show you parts and pieces of my Statue of Liberty collection. This happens to be Liberty Insanity number 9. And today we're going to explore, we're going to examine Liberty Enlightening the World. Collectible scale replica resin piece by Harbor Lights. Came out in the year 2000. It's number 627 in their series. Now, if you know anyone who is really into lighthouses, they certainly know what Harbor Lights are, and they may even collect them. So a guy named Bill Younger created the Harbor Lights series in 1991, and they were produced up until 2009. Like I said, this one came out in the year 2000. It's the only one I have, but they are scale replicas, very detailed, of lighthouses, mostly in the U.S., East Coast, West Coast, in the Great Lakes. But they have done some pieces for Europe, and they've done some other stuff, like they did the, the Seven Wonders of the World, the Colossus of Rhodes, and all that. Very cool, very collectible, 21 years ago. They were pricey back then, but what stands out to me is the extreme attention to detail. This is probably the most accurate Statue of Liberty on the market. Now, you may already be asking yourself, well, if this is a series of lighthouses, why is the Statue of Liberty even included? Well, the Statue of Liberty was an active lighthouse from the time of its inauguration, 1886, until 1902. And that's what this medallion shows. It says Liberty Enlightening the World, which is the official name of the Statue of Liberty. That's what Bartholdi named it. It took a few decades to get funded and to get constructed, but it was a lighthouse from its start for about 15 years. The 2000 you see on the bottom is the year that this came out. And it says, Harbor Lights celebrates the turn of the century. Hefty medallion. The piece also comes with a replica of a cigarette trading card. Statue of Liberty on Liberty Island, Bedloes Island, northwestern end of Upper New York Bay. Total height above low water mark, 305 feet, 11 inches. Has a fixed white electric light. Presented by the people of France to the people of the United States to commemorate the goodwill which exists between the two nations. The statue is of copper. The pedestal was built through means of popular subscription by the school children of the United States and is of concrete and granite. The designer and builder was the celebrated sculptor Bartholdi. And certificate of authenticity. We certify that this is an authentic Harbor Lights limited edition figurine based on an original historic structure. It is strictly available from January 1st to December 31st, 2000. Signed by Kim Andrews. And I assume you get one of these for any of the lighthouses. It shows you where it was located. Liberty Enlightening the World, New York. Very informative booklet. I read this whole thing, and I'm going to tell you some facts. How many pages? 27. This focuses on its time and its function as an active lighthouse. So in order for Bartholdi to get support of the general idea, he knew he had to make it functional. So it was designed from the start to be a lighthouse. Now, there was a lot of struggles to figure out how to light it and how to keep it lit. And that task fell under the U.S. Lighthouse Administration up until 1902, when they extinguished the flame, so to speak. It was always electric. The flame you see in the design was never burning oil. It was never an active torch. But I can show you some pictures for when it was exhibited around the U.S. So, it was designed in France, and here you go. And parts. Let's see. The head was on exhibit in Paris. You could tour that. The arm had already been transported to the U.S. as early as 1876. Remember, it wasn't dedicated until 1886 because it took a lot to secure the funding and to build the pedestal. The deal was Bartholdi and his crew, including Eiffel of Eiffel Tower fame, they would build the statue, have it deconstructed and transported to the U.S., but the U.S. had to supply the base. They had to find the location, which turned out to be Bedloes Island in New York, and they had to build the base. There were a lot of fundraising. And Joseph Pulitzer was important in that, in raising the funding, because one of the early things he did in his paper, New York World, was he said, okay, there's this idea we could get it or Philly could get it. It was kind of just made up. Philly, you know, you don't want to see this beautiful statue built in Philadelphia, do you? So he put this whole sense of competition, like, you know, send us your money or Philadelphia is going to end up with this beautiful statue instead of New York. Then it turns out another thing he did later on, once the pedestal had already begun construction and they were running into financial issues, he basically said, you know, donate anything you can, 25 cents, $1, and we'll put your name in the paper. We'll put your name like at the base of the statue. Just a huge fundraising campaign. But sure enough, it was built. The statue was transported. And then came the issue of getting it lit. I did want to show you the back. I put it on the turntable here. So there's the Harbor Lights mark, Liberty Enlightening the World. And the, you know, I happen to have number 5273. It's written there and on the box. And we can examine Lady Liberty here. Heavy resin piece, very fragile. And I think that's on the bottom too. So you can see the original torch that had the electric bulbs inside it. You can see that in what's now the museum at the base. Because it was removed after it was decommissioned as a lighthouse. This book goes into great detail about how difficult it was to figure out how to light it. And just like they, you know, when it was built, there wasn't even facilities there for the lighthouse keeper. They had to build all that. Oh yeah, this is interesting. So when it opened, October 28th, 1886, you can see they had the base illuminated and they hadn't had lights positioned yet to see the actual statue. So I thought it was interesting anyway to learn that they had the electricity technology to even conceive of these ideas in 1886. So look, it was rededicated at nighttime and they had all these failures at November 1st, 1886. And this details, you know, these are some political cartoons making fun of it. Just kind of a waste of money, waste of effort. So they built the facilities for it. Originally had 4 people staying on the grounds. And as far as visitation in those days, in like 1887, only 10 people were allowed in the statue at a time. And you used to, remember this picture here, you used to be able to go all the way to the top. And they said maximum 3 people in the torch at a time. Nowadays, for many decades, you have not been able to go in the torch. But it's an interesting book, The Challenge of Lighting the Torch. And then ultimately, by 1902, it was just kind of deemed as an ineffective light. This shows you inside the head how the graffiti was already starting to accumulate from visitors. So it says the extinguishment of the light was 1902, and then maintenance of it went to the National Park Service 1933. So between 1902 and 1933, it was maintained by the War Department, which is pretty interesting of itself. And Bedloe's Island was not officially called Liberty Island until 1956. But this details the construction, the dedication with President Grover Cleveland. Very interesting book, very beautiful keepsake piece. And if you think about it, I did the math on this. So 305 feet tall. My cats are behind me fighting. 305 feet tall times 12 inches, that, let's see, is 3,660 inches. And then I wanted to divide by the height of this. So the height from base to here is 9 inches. But I took off 1 inch because this is just ground. So I think the 305 would represent the base of the pedestal to the top of the torch. So 3,660 divided by 8, you come up with 420. I think this is a 420 scale replica. Very, very cool. All right, I've enjoyed showing this to you. Very detailed, pricey piece. Harbor Lights. I like it. Liberty Insanity, number 9. Thanks for looking. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for the thumbs up. Check out the Liberty Insanity playlist for my other Statue of Liberty toys, figures, figurines, collectibles, ephemera, paraphernalia, etc. Beautiful. Goodbye.